found that there were a lot of people commenting on art, theatre, and they didn't look like us. Also the same thing with literature. These industries are notoriously not diverse, to put it politically correct. So we were like, how do we enter these spaces? How do we kind of carve out an authority in these spaces? And so podcasting was kind of that way through. And we said we'd just basically give anyone that wants to kind of talk about things that they don't see themselves in a chance and a show. And that's how the network got started.
So what is it important to live these voices?
I think it's very important to see yourself. If you see it, you can believe it and then you can actually do it. So, I mean, if it wasn't for me listening to The Read, which is the biggest black podcast in the world, I don't think I would have ever kind of envisaged myself a podcaster. And up until I was listening to Sue, I didn't think I could ever do it. And then I listened to them and I felt like, oh, yeah, this is something I can do. And there are people that will forge new ground, but it does help to kind of have a visual representation of yourself in spaces where you have a natural interest. Like, if you don't see anyone looking like reading, why would you read?
Did you have any trouble getting started with like other minority journalists?
Oh yes, so many trouble. So the one great thing about carving things out for yourself is that you kind of create your own rules and you play by your own rules. And then as we got bigger, we're finding that we had to formalize a lot of things. We had to go through some of the traditional channels that have been they have gatekeepers. And they are sometimes reluctant to look at anything new, to listen to anything new, to listen to things that don't actually look like them. So we had a lot of kind of resistance with kind of some of the major distributors, kind of having meetings as a network and having those conversations was really tough. Like I mentioned in the talk, like I had to kind of have someone from within the industry who respected and understood what we were doing as a network, kind of give us that introduction, and that kind of opened some doors for us. So it is a very much like, I don't want to say it's a boys club, but it is kind of a very gated community, and they're very protective over that. But it is changing, and the more we enter it, the more we can get other people behind us. We've never really, we've only gone on one hiatus, so we've taken like 4 weeks off. I mean, one lost episode once. But we've gone consistently, like week in, week out. We have episodes in Christmas, so we're very consistent. And so out of 5, there now there's 70 plus, maybe even up to 100. Like every day we're finding out there's like new entry podcasts, new color entry podcasts, and a lot of them pitch to our network. We just don't have any space or capacity to take it on, so we do encourage people to do it intentionally.
How many podcasts have
We have Melanin Millennials, mostly the 2 Full Stalking, Artistic State of Mind, and an archive. So there's 5. We did produce a 6th called Top Formation, which was a football show. And unfortunately that did not work out, so we actually cancelled that in January. But yeah, we have 5, 2 of which are currently running and are not hiatus. That's mostly a Melanin Millennials, but the rest take place.
Are those like all 2 main shows?
Yeah, I would say like there's definitely a lot of discipline with like Melanin Millennials is very meticulous. We have a very strict routine in how we plan and then promote our show. So there's like this happens, then this happens, then this happens. The same thing with Mostly Lit, they're very consistent and very disciplined. The other shows, they're very disciplined in different ways. So Artistic State of Mind is every fortnight and they go to loads of shows, they will go to concerts just to make sure that they have enough content to pack into their fortnight show. So we all have like a different thing that we do, but it's difficult to stay consistent in podcasting. It is a lot of hard work. We, as a network, we take a lot of that hard work away without anyone. I don't have to touch audio. I don't have to edit. So I have no skills. That is all the producer, all the engineer, and that in that way we're very lucky. And I'm not doing it independently, and I don't know how we will continue to be consistent with our
So you feel like you constantly have to change throughout the process of podcasting, and maybe change your image or things the stories you produce and so on?
Yes, actually. Personally and from the network. So in terms of our show, we initially started off as it was very much based on our personality, and now we've got a lot of guests in and out. We found that there's only so many opinions I can have about politics, feminism, whatever social issue is like hot that day. I can only say so many things. So we've now started bringing in people that can kind of add to that conversation. And in a lot of ways, me as a network, there's like this weird conflict because I'm the CEO of the Shout Out Network, which is a business and it's a very professional body, and then you've got Melanin Millennials, which is just trash talk. And I'm like, I can't really say what I want and be taken seriously on this network. So for me personally, it is very difficult. There's things that I want to say and I feel like I actually can't because it may jeopardize what I'm doing on the network side. And then on the network side, we try to steer away from creating the same kinds of shows. Like I mentioned, we do a lot of conversation shows. They're very easy and fairly cheap to produce in the grand scheme of things. They don't require a lot of production. You just sit there and record and then you stop recording and it's done, and there's like a bit of like post-production. Now we're looking at more scripted, more highly produced, really edited things. So that's going to take a lot more time, a lot more people. And yeah, I feel like the pressure to do that has come a little bit from the fact that we've seen like an influx. Like, yes, it's great that there's like 70 of us doing it now, but we're all kind of producing very similar content. So how do you now differentiate and stand above the rest?